Good morning and welcome to the 23rd State of the Nation event. This morning, we are going to talk about how to grow your customer loyalty through emotional connection. Just a couple bits of housekeeping before we start. So the session will be recorded. So if you do need to leave early, we will be sending a link around either later today or tomorrow for access. And also, if you've got any questions for our panelists, please feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we will be asking some questions towards the end of the session. So without further ado, I would like to invite Brian Walker, CEO of Retail Doctor Group, to give a quick intro to the session and to a quick intro to our panelists. Morning, Brian.
Hey, Anastasia, good morning. Not showing my image at the moment, but hopefully that will come up, or maybe this is a blessing in disguise. But first of all, I want to welcome our guest this morning to this session. You know, as markets start to contract, customer conversion, repeat visitation, being, if you like, supporters, fans, almost acolytes of a brand becomes even more critical. And delighted today to work with our guests who really are on this journey of building customer loyalty and conversion. And I speak of Briony Kennedy, founder and CEO of Adorn Cosmetics. So welcome, Briony. Great to have you with us. And also an ARI finalist, so delighted to have you with us. Anthony Grice. Well, Anthony, equally delighted, CEO and part owner of Clark Rubber. Really, I think in time to come, this will show as a complete revival and turnaround of a traditional business into a very contemporary, modern, channel-focused business. And I'm delighted to have you with us, Anthony. And I know personally the work that customer loyalty and segmentation plays in your strategy. And equally, Adam Posner. When I first heard Adam and met Adam through his work with The Point of Loyalty, and founder and CEO, and some very impressive work in this area of customer loyalty, and brings another perspective to today's discussion. And without any further ado, Anastasia Lloyd-Wallis, our Chief Operating Officer, our Head of Consumer Insights, and certainly taken a lot of our work in personality profiling, the Limbic methodology, and working with our clients, such as Anthony and Briony, in building what we call customer loyalty and really driving into that heartland and the personality profiling of these customers. So welcome, everyone. And for everyone attending, thank you for joining us. And I'm sure you'll hear some wonderful insights from our panelists.
Thanks, Brian. All right, let's move into a bit of a quick setting the scene before we pass to our guests. So as Brian mentioned, within our Insights division, we do talk a lot about customer loyalty and understanding what that actually means to customers. So we do research twice a year, and we are just about to release our consumer and retailer sentiment survey in July. But some of the previous research that we've conducted, we know 92% of women and 86% of men are actually part of a loyalty scheme. But what's quite interesting here is 75% actually do say it influences their behavior. So that's really quite interesting. But I think one of the key things that we will start talking about today is the purpose of the loyalty scheme and how we go just beyond that. But some of the things that we do see, 38% of consumers are influenced to visit a particular brand more often, and 29% actually spend more time in store when they do visit. So there is a time and a place for loyalty programs. We just want to have a little dig into that as to what does that mean and how do we build beyond that. But what we have seen is what I'm quite saying here is it's no longer one size fits all. Collecting points is no longer meaningful to our customers. So we want to go beyond that into that emotional connection. How do we create an emotional connection? So again, there really is a place. 1 in 5 customers are significantly influenced. And in particular, it's almost the reverse of what we traditionally think, in that our younger consumers, so our 25 to 34, 3/4 are influenced by loyalty schemes, and our Gen Z and millennials are actually more loyal, which is probably the myth that is floating around, that these customers are not loyal. But it takes more to make them loyal. I think this is one of the key things, is that when they find a brand that they do connect with, they will be more loyal. They will be the brand advocates. But one of the questions we're going to dig into today is, how do we make them more loyal? What is that journey? And I've touched on this already. 3/4 of consumers who are members of loyalty schemes say influences their behaviour. This is our recent research report. So if anyone is looking for, have a look at this data, you can download that from our website. So we had a quick look at, well, what do consumers actually look for when they're in a loyalty program? Now, what's quite interesting here is they can't really quite decide. There's a little bit of everything. And depends who you speak to actually says what they actually want. So there is no one size fits all. And I think what's quite interesting and what this tells me is that consumers are not really sure what they want in loyalty, and they're all very different. So what's actually first and foremost is understanding who that customer is. Who is your customer? Not just their demographics, but who are their personalities? What do they look for? What drives them? To really understand how you build that loyalty. Do you even need a loyalty program? Because what we can see is they've got different emotive drivers. So within the research that we do, we can see there's some consumers that are really driven by data, detail, proof. They want to be part of your loyalty scheme exactly for that reason. They want you to guide them, to give them the information. We then have those that it's all about social and peer influence. So they're very much influenced by their friends and their family. They want to be part of a community. So loyalty to a brand for them is that they are part of that brand community. They want to feel like they're part of something. So how to create that? Is it through local events? Is it how we talk to them, making them feel that they are part of the brand? VIP and exclusivity. This is almost a classic loyalty, Qantas loyalty to a T. But there is definitely this segment of consumers, it's around 10%, highly driven by VIP exclusivity. They want to have these status tiers. If that's your target segment, it's all about achieving that next tier. It's all about them getting something that nobody else can get. So that's really different drivers to loyalty, in particular to the group that are looking for community, social proof. Then moving on, next one, fun and excitement. What's new, what's fun, what's interesting. They want to be the first to try new products. They want to be your influencers. These are the consumer group that to gain brand loyalty, they want to feel like they're actionable and them taking part in the brand, and that they're on the forefront. So they're really looking to be those brand ambassadors. This is your classic group that are looking for simplicity and time saving, almost even money saving. If this is your target group, it is the classic saving money, collecting points, saving them time, making it really easy for them. So it's very much an easy and straightforward life they're looking for. And that's what makes them loyal to brands. And that trust and reassurance. So we can really see that trust. Consumers that look for that with a brand, and effectively they're loyal to the brands that they feel that they can trust. And one of the things that we have been seeing in the last 3 months, as consumer confidence has started to decrease, we're actually seeing consumers more leaning towards brands that they can trust and are becoming more loyal to brands that have either been recommended or that they feel that are trusted, reliable, are going to be there for them. So I think we will see this move slightly in the next sort of 3 to 6 months through the consumer mind. But I think what's really important is really thinking about every step. So who is your customer? How do they want to interact with me? So they want to be in contact 24/7. We know that now. We can't really say customer journey anymore because it's not linear. It really is this full loyalty loop. It's how do they start to interact with us? What is every single step on the way? Thinking about that full customer loop. Where do they end? What's the next step? How do we keep them engaged at all points? So some of the things that we do talk about here is creating emotionally relevant content. So really thinking beyond how do we connect with them through that emotional level? How do we really get them to be our brand advocates? How do we get them to talk about us? And how do we get them to create that emotional relationship with us? And one of the key things, again, as we're moving to these next 6 months that we know are going to be more challenging, creating this really targeted consumer segmentation and really talking to those that really are connected to you or could be connected to you will really not let you understand where to put that marketing expenditure, really get that higher ROI and much more targeted in where we spend our money. So the really key for the end of today is, how do we create this emotional relationship? How do we become a brand that customers are really connected to? And if you were with us at one of our previous events, we've talked a lot about the importance of the brand. And in the next 12 months, how important the brand will be with consumers. And again, they'll be really going back to brands that they have got this relationship with. So how we create that loyalty. Now, if you've heard me speak before, you might have seen me say this before, but we need to go beyond just the classic stats, statistics, data. We need to think about our consumers beyond the data. They are people. They are very much human beings. They want to be treated like human beings. And I saw some great research recently by Customology that talked a lot more about this personalization, individual. So customers are really wanting to be treated as humans, as individuals. So how do we go beyond that? And again, one of the stats that I always talk about, 95% of consumers are driven by 95% of purchase decisions are driven by customers' emotions. It's only afterwards, in that post-purchase distance, that logical brain takes place. So as a brand, as a retailer, if we can talk to those emotions, that's 95% of our consumer decision making. So just to really hammer it home, two consumers, Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, same age, same gender, same income, same location, two very different people. So what we can see here is the importance of actually going beyond demographics and no longer talking to your customers purely as an age, gender, location, postcode. You may live next to someone and be very, very different. And we have two very different personalities, very different emotions, very different drivers. And one of the things that I have talked a little bit on already is we need to understand these different drivers, because this will be what drives their loyalty. So understanding their motivations will really help us understand their loyalty. Is it through reward? Is it status, gamification, new and fun? Is it about pleasure, family, friends? What are they actually looking for in their relationships with retailers and brands? So I talked a little bit on customer loyalty loop. This is a couple of examples of how we can really look at this customer loyalty loop. So Hannah's a hedonist. She's driven by the happiness hormone dopamine. So she's really looking for new experiences, extraordinary experiences. So first and foremost, grab her attention. It's all about new products, innovative experiences. She's really looking to stand out on social media. She's highly interactive, TikTok, Instagram, short attention span. So we've really got to grab her attention and grab it quickly. She wants it all about her, personalized communications. If she's not the center, she will lose attention quite quickly. She's then looking to make it fun. So in-store design, it's got to be fun, exciting, appealing in store. How she interacts with staff, it's got to keep it interesting, keep her involved. And then very much looking at the digital and the physical. She's very much an early adopter. She's looking for how she can interact with the brands and the retailers all the time. And then once she's made that purchase, once we've engaged her in the store, well, she wants to be first. She wants to keep on top of it. So she's going to keep engaged through VIP subscriptions, new products. She wants to be the first to try. She also wants to be the first in her social group, so she can show to everybody she is leading, she is ahead. And then she wants to be the influencer. So if she is one of your target segments, if you do have Hannah's, what you'll find is they actually want to be the influencer. They'll do a lot of the legwork for you. They'll tell everybody. They'll showcase if they've got that connection with your brands. So she's very much looking for, make it new, make it interesting, keep me excited, keep me engaged through every point of that journey, whether it's on TikTok at the start where she can be the influencer, whether it's through the in-store experience, how she talks to the staff, right the way through to what that VIP experience and what that loyalty means to her. Then quite on the other end of the spectrum, we have Helen. So Helen's a harmonizer. She's driven by oxytocin. So that's the cuddle hormone. We'll all know our Helen. There's about 1 in 3 Australians that are Helen the harmonizers. Very much driven by care, security, community. This is our consumer that really is driven by their friends, their family, being part of a community. So to get her attention to begin with, she will start through social proof, whether it's online reviews, whether it's talking to her friends, family, referrals, word of mouth. She really is looking for that social proof before she interacts with a brand. She wants recommendations. She wants them really tailored to her. So she wants to know that as a brand, you're caring for her, you're looking after her. So she really is looking for how you can give her that information. She then wants to be guided through the sales process. So the in-store experience really needs to guide Helen. It needs to take her through every single step. She wants to talk to staff. So very much she wants the staff to educate her and guide her. So it's a very different experience to what Hannah's looking for. Hannah's looking for excitement, fun. She wants the staff to make it interesting. She wants to be entertained, where Helen is actually looking for guidance, for information, for recommendation. She wants to feel safe in that in-store environment. Then once she's purchased, she wants to be part of that community. So I've already touched on this community spirit. She wants to be part of your family, part of your brand. So how does she get engaged? How does she get to know about it? And then she wants her friends and family to be with her. She wants it to be a full involvement. So how does she bring everyone else to the party? How does she bring her friends and family, whether it's through referrals, whether it's through special events and engagements in store? So this is just a bit of an example about two very different customer loops, depending on their personalities. So just wrapping it up, a very quick start. So what does this mean for brands? Well, we're going to touch on very much now how important loyalty is and how to build loyalty. So it's not just through the loyalty program, it's through every single touch point, and really going back to what are those emotions that are driving your consumer at every single touch point throughout the program. So really understanding what that means, who they are, and how they want to engage with you. All right, well, I'm going to pass to Brian to introduce our next speaker. Now, as I do, we just do have a couple of quick polls here. So as I mentioned, we are conducting research into consumer and retailer sentiment. So we're definitely interested in retailers' opinions and a few of the key categories that are really top of mind for retailers at the moment. Now, if you can hopefully see it on your screen and answer the questions that are in front of you, just understanding your thoughts and opinions on sustainability, diversity, and trust in our first poll. Passing to Brian.
Very much, Anastasia. And again, I think my Zoom camera is playing up, so please bear with the faceless voice coming from the corner. Briony, good morning. What I'll ask, if I can, to start, is just a couple of moments around how you created the business of Adorn. And then we'll move into the area of customer loyalty, particularly, if that's okay. So how did it all start?
For me, Adorn started a bit like a party plan, actually. And so I guess, I was looking after the Helens. And for me, I noticed there was a gap in the natural cosmetic market. And that's that aside. But from a brand support, I noticed that there wasn't a lot of support up to and even after that purchase around cosmetics and skincare. And a lot of women in the demographics that we look after, they just want to know what they're cooking for dinner, let alone what skincare routine or cosmetic routine. So for me, Adorn really started as a secondary income. It didn't expect to grow to what it is today, but I did essentially recognise the need for women to have their hand held through that process. And so I really got some great insights as to what they were wanting, when they were wanting it, and in what language they were wanting it. And then, of course, the brand has developed into a pure play business.
Yeah, I mean, you've had an exceptional period of growth, to your great credit. And I think one of the things that you practice, I might call customer love in a very genuine way. And the way that you describe even the Helen limbic personality about the language and the tonality and what your brand means to that individual. Am I right in saying that that's fundamental to the way you and your team go about the business of Adorn?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I think for us, what really stood out is, I think, up until about year 8 or 9, as you know, Brian, I really was reticent to put my face to the brand. I really felt that the products were superior. They had outstanding accreditations, and the most we were very much pioneers in the sustainability area 15 years ago. So for me, I felt like we had such a solid foundation that it didn't really need a voice. I felt the products at that point could be the voice, and how very wrong I was. So about year 9, or my husband rather, pushed me into speaking publicly. And I guess at that point it was more so around Facebook, and producing sort of content to support women, I guess emulating what I was doing in those party plan style, business to customer, and just putting that online in the Facebook space through lives, etc. And the monumental amount of growth that we had just by making that small change. And you mentioned customer loyalty. To me, it is very much earned by showing customer love. And when you feel loved, you become a community, as far as I'm concerned. And so, I learned a lot by not having, I suppose, that voice, and giving that aspirational aspect to the business for our customers, and then seeing what it was like giving the customers more than just the product. And for me, I feel that loyalty is almost secondary. You need to earn that. And for me, what I've discovered with the Adorn brand, especially I think with a lot of the personalities within our brand, is that people want the support before, they want the support during, and of course they want the support after. And so building that community by putting my face to the brand, showing and telling people, really had made a significant difference to the growth of the brand. But more so, the loyalty came. And so powerfully so that we have a Facebook group, a private one, that's about 8,000 strong, and we only established that a couple of years ago. And the ability to access information from them because they are loyal, that feeling they've got of exclusivity, they've got access to something over and above the product, which is the founder, and to them that's important. So there's all these different layers that I think need to come before you expect loyalty. And in my opinion, a loyalty program is the icing on the cake, nor do I think it would work without that community, or that support, or that feeling of a story around your brand and what they can connect with.
That's a great answer. I mean, it's a very layered answer. When Adam and Anthony and yourself join us at the panel at the end, towards the end of this, I'm sure we'll discuss whether loyalty is in fact a program as such. But what's interesting, I think, as I listen to you, is firstly the personification of the brand through yourself. And I suppose one of the opportunities and challenges as the business grows, and who knows, you might open some physical space in time to come, how you continue that heavy emotional connection, personification of the brand. And but you make the nice point around the customer connection being an emotional connection, and that the product is the enabler to that. Yeah. Because you're in an incredibly competitive sector, as many are. And so you're rising above that through the personification of the brand. How important is it to understand feedback from your customers? How important is it that loop? You talk about the 3 parts, and I agree. But I also would suggest it's a continuous loop of feedback.
Absolutely. And, I think as we're growing, I'm finding that, of course, there are, if we do talk about age groups, there are younger age groups that are coming on board that I kind of wasn't anticipating. So again, it's that importance of understanding, the voice of the customer, what they're actually wanting, but also staying true to that original sort of demographic and customer base. For me, I think that when you create something that's aspirational, I think, people want, but also achievable. And I think looking at their feedback through, and for me, the group's just been phenomenal because I get real-time responses. And, I can put a poll, which I often do, in this particular group, and it could be about what products do you want to see next? You know, what are you loving? What are you not loving? What educational pieces? It's just ask, you know, and I think it's important not to have an ego. You know, often we can attach ourselves to a brand. It becomes our identity to some degree, or especially if you're the founder. But one thing I think is important is not to have an ego, because you need to be agile, you need to be changing. And surprisingly, like I mentioned, you might start to bring on some personalities or some demographics that you didn't necessarily think would align themselves with your brand. So, you know, we act on the majority of what feedback we get through these polls. I value it. And I think that it's extremely important that if you're asking the questions, act on them in a timely manner. People want to feel heard, and they want to feel that you're actually then doing something about what they've suggested. So, you know, if you're accessible, I think you just gain that trust straight away, because you're there every step of the way for the customer as well.
Yeah, great answer. I do want to touch on product for a moment, if I may. I was listening to you thinking to myself, is one of the litmus tests in a tighter contracting market that in fact your loyal customer, your advocate, will continue to spend up with you? Or do you offer a broader range of products and price down and they meet you there? In other words, they've still got price elasticity. They're moving, or they're moving up the price journey with you. And is new product innovation part of that strategy and pricing accordingly?
Yeah, I think, you know, being a minimal waste company, I'm very particular about, you know, just taking on new products just for the sake of a sale. You know, I really have to be very sure that it's something that is filling a need. So there is a balance in that. But, you know, developing and providing more products is definitely something that we look at, because we have such trust from our customers. And that was my goal when I started Adorn, was to have, you know, a brand that was so trusted that consumers will just buy the next product without even researching the ingredients or looking at anything, because they've got so much trust in us that they know we're going to stick by what our you know, what our ethos is. We don't deviate off that, and we've achieved that, which I think's phenomenal. So I know when we release something, people jump on that. You know, essentially your product needs to do what it says. And, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that with an amazing community, you know, you're going to thrive on a product that's subpar. I mean, you know, all of these elements, as we were discussing, is everything's very layered. So, you know, you need to get your product right, the positioning right. But, you know, looking at different ways of growing the brand. And for us, one of the things that we recognized, and look, Brian, for me, I'm not someone who spends a lot of time in, you know, marketing and business plans. A lot of what I do comes from my heart and my gut. And one of the things that I feel as a consumer myself is you want access to luxury sometimes, but without the guilt associated with it. It's very much like why you've got Chanel's and they have perfumes. It's a way of, it's an entry into your brand. So one of the things that we released, you know, not too long ago was travel size versions of our products. So we're very much a mid-luxury level brand. And so we want to be able to give women that ability to enter into the brand or be a part of it at a price point that they can afford. And so I think that kindness that we offer, not just to the environment, but to the customer, by giving them opportunities to engage with us, no matter how much money they spend, is something that's really been vital to our success. And I think that's why we're getting the younger demographic coming on board, because we've nurtured the mums and they've passed that on to their daughters.
Yeah, and when does a customer become loyal, Briony? In other words, is there a, you know, I probably should, but I don't wear makeup. But if I did, if I purchased 3 times from you, do I fall into some basket that's called loyal? Or is there some demarcation that says, oh, okay, Brian's been on a site 3 times, he's purchased 3 times, he's, quote, in the loyalty program?
Yeah, so look, I guess as you scale, there needs to be some structure around things. And we're very much about personalised communication, and that's why I spend so much of my own personal time in our private group. But, there needs to be some benchmarking. And so our loyalty program that we run through Yotpo has been something that we only initiated, I think, about 6 months ago. Okay. So for a 15-year-old brand, we really didn't do anything prior to that other than delight people by the unexpected. And that could have been researching maybe our top 5 customers from a sales point of view. It could also be the ones that engaged the most in a group. And so we would just surprise them with different things, whether it's a gift, whether it's a limited edition, something, maybe even a phone call from me. So, but the loyalty program's really been able to harness a bit more of that day-to-day loyalty where, when you do have these soldiers, or what we refer to as adorners, out there just so passionate about what you do, talking about your brand, just naturally I want to reward them for that. And so, there are those points-based, bonuses and loyalty, and there's all of those things that they get. But to me, that's just an added bonus for them. I think the core for the loyalty that we've received is knowing that they get that aftercare or the after sales support. I think is definitely what's really driving it. And our loyalty program, whilst it's extremely successful, I think that's just the icing on the cake. But, for me, if we get sort of 4 stock turns from a customer a year, I think that's a really good loyalty. But it's also the engagement, because I'm also aware that some of our lower spending customers often have the biggest voices about the brand as well.
Yeah, that's a really interesting insight. Well, Briony, I'm well on the way to becoming an adorner, listening to you today. So really well done. Looking forward to you joining us at the panel. Great insight. The thing that strikes me there is just that passion and purpose and enthusiasm and that whole customer loop, which Anastasia touched on too, about the loyalty loop. So fantastic. I'll pass to Anastasia on poll number 2, I think. And then to Anthony. Yeah, it's okay.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks. So we're just about to welcome Anthony, and while we do, we'll just quickly launch our next poll. So we want to understand a little bit more about what a retailer's thinking for the next 12 months. It's a question that everybody wants to know the answer. What's everybody else thinking? Where do we predict the market's going to be in the next 12 months? What do we think are going to be some of the key aspects? Now, the research that we are talking about today has actually been conducted globally already, and it is about to be launched at World Retail Congress. So when we combine this data and release it next month, there will be data that will compare how retailers around the world are thinking and where everyone else, and Australia data is actually getting combined into the World Retail Congress presentation. So that's really interesting. So thanks. I'll pass back to you, Brian, to introduce Anthony.
Thanks very much. Well, Anthony, I again, delighted to have you with us. And I'm really just going to pass to you because of the great work you're doing, leading the business. And as I touched on at the start, as CEO of Clark Rubber, I know firsthand through the work we've done together, how important that customer and that customer centricity is to your business. And so perhaps that's the segue into asking you to take us through your thoughts on customer loyalty, and some of your experiences.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, and good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today to be able to share with everyone some insights into what we're doing at Clark Rubber to really drive customer loyalty. I might start off by sharing just, I think, a few sound bites on who we are and what we do. So Clark Rubber, an iconic brand, has been in the Australian marketplace now for 77 years, and certainly it's evolved in its service offering over that period. But as it is today, we're the experts in everything pool, foam and rubber. So quite an eclectic mix of products under the one roof. In terms of our mission, we provide home and recreation solutions that allow Australians to enjoy their environment and create memory with family and friends. So what does that mean in real terms? We are wanting our customers to really enjoy their pool, their spa, or get a good night's sleep. We're the largest retailer of mattresses, foam mattresses in Australia. So it's really centering around providing those home and recreation solutions. Our vision is to build Australia's most loved and trusted brand for home and rec solutions. A little bit about our network. We've got 60 plus stores across the Australian marketplace. In fact, that's now, we'll round out this financial year at 64 and we're growing. And we've got over 100 mobile service vans. So what are we? We're a mixture of both retail as well as service with vans that are actually out in people's backyards servicing their pools and spas. Our business has changed ownership, which is really exciting. Around 2.5 years ago, we welcomed new owners to the brand, and really the focus has been on totally reinventing our brand and our retail offering. And so we're well on our way in redefining that. And that project or that journey started really in getting an understanding, a deep understanding of our customers and of course, what our customers thought of our brand. And we'll move to the next slide, please, Anastasia. And so here's a little bit of a map of, really what our customers were saying. We partnered with the retail doctor to undertake this deep dive into the insights of customers. And our customers were really talking to us around a brand that they saw as being fun, safe, secure, and reliable. We had strength in certain categories, pool and foam is one of those. The opportunities that we saw at that point in time, where our customers were telling us, were around really growing out the pool side of our business, and we've got really big growth plans in that space. Some of the risks we saw at that point in time, and I might touch on that we undertook this survey, the Consumer Insights survey back in, I think it was around about 2020. So just prior or in the thick of COVID. So some of the risks we identified at that point in time was around having an aging consumer, a lack of digital purchase channels, a lack of digital marketing, a reliance on staff, and our staff are really front and centre in a high-touch retail setting in being able to identify the needs of a customer, if you like, decode and provide that solution to the problem. And there was really, at that point in time, this notion of a lack of emotional brand attributes that really underpin loyalty. So, the insights have played a critical role in us identifying and developing our strategic plan for the way we move forward. And what has that given way to? It's really given way to a revolution in our business that centres around people, systems and processes. So, our national support team, we've invested heavily into getting the right people in the right roles and really developing out departments to be able to be self-sufficient internally as opposed to using external providers. We've got a new ERP system that we're about to implement, learning management systems, CRMs, and we've invested heavily into digital. And I'll share a little bit of an update on that in a moment. We're also adding new products and services. So like any retailer, we need to diversify and that centres around, giving our customers greater product and service offerings. So let's get into talking about a little bit more around segmentation and the process or the project that we've undertaken to really get a deep understanding of our customer. And so, we worked with the retail doctor to really understand our customers in a greater sense. And so what does that look like? We employed the Limbic Insight profiling to really get a sense of who is the core customer in Clark Rubber. And the Limbic data that we were able to develop as part of that program has really underpinned a lot of the key projects that we've undertaken at Clark Rubber, and that includes product ranging, marketing, and if you're following Clark Rubber socials, you'll see that our socials are very, very different today. Certainly they've evolved radically over the last couple of years. It also drives e-com. So we've got a brand new e-com platform that's going to go live today, actually. So I'm a little bit nervous. But our new e-com platform has been driven through the Limbic Insights in understanding clearly who are our key customers and how do they interact with our brand? What is their emotional pulls? Store design. We're about to launch a completely redesigned retail footprint. So the Clark Rubber store of the future is going to look very, very different to the Clark Rubber store of the past. And of course, loyalty. So I want to share with you, as part of that consumer insight program, who do we identify as the key customer or the core customer that shops in Clark Rubber? And I thought I would share with you this segmentation model and really highlight two core customers that centre around, or primary customers that centre around harmoniser and traditionalists. So, you know, we heard Anastasia talk earlier about Helen the harmoniser. And Helen the harmoniser is certainly a core customer that shops in Clark Rubber. Their emotional connection centres around family, creativity, safety, security. And a harmoniser, we see, is very much a creature of habit and a little bit suspicious of newness. They like that they're highly likely to remain loyal, and Clark Rubber has certainly a very loyal customer base. We also poll heavily into the traditionalists. Their shopping habits are comparatively rigid. They are prototypical customers that are loyal and trust brands and businesses for a long time. So, you know, that's the rich heartland for Clark Rubber. We've identified some other emerging opportunities. So in our pool sector, Helen the hedonist, and we heard Anastasia talk about Helen earlier, you know, and Helen's all about fun, new, being first, an influencer. And if you think about some of our products in pools, so, you know, inflatable pool toys is a really good example of that. So fun, fashion, exciting. And we also identified two key segments, or two customer segments for growth opportunities for us, and that centres around both disciplined and performer. Just moving on to the next slide, please, Anastasia. So for us at Clark Rubber, customer loyalty goes far beyond just a simple discount program. For us, it's about, first of all, distinguishing between business-to-business customers and business-to-consumer customers. You know, they're uniquely different, and we do have a large trade element of our business, and we've designed programs that really talk to both of those groups. We focused on building tribes. So, you know, the business has three distinct product ranges: pool foam and rubber, and those customers don't necessarily shop across all three categories. So creating tribes is centering around, you know, giving information, creating ideas, educating the customers on how to use those products, whether it be a robotic cleaner that they're putting in their pool, whether it be a weekend project of replacing seals, renovating caravans, you name it. So it's really centering around giving more to our customers than just product. It's also about advice and educating them. Providing our customers with seamless solutions is also important. So, you know, I touched on earlier that we've got a new e-com platform that's going live today. In phase 2 of the platform, we'll be providing our customers with the ability to connect with our brand on a personalised level. And what I mean in that respect is, you know, in our pool space, where we have and provide free of charge to our customers comprehensive water analysis. So customers got a swimming pool at home or a spa, they bring in a water sample, and we analyse that water and give them a comprehensive analysis of, you know, how do they balance that water to meet Australian standards. So, you know, what are our customers wanting? They're wanting to access all of that data in real time for their particular pool or spa bath via our e-com platform. They're wanting to access all of their purchase history. So purchase history, not only just in receipts, but also any owner's manuals, any video tutorial guides, any setup information. So again, from a loyalty standpoint, we're focusing on giving our customers a reason to be sticky to our brand, and by providing them, you know, really seamless solutions so that they can interact with the brand. Some other neat things that we're working on, you know, we want to take this the next step into the future, and then be able to connect directly into customer swimming pools through IoT and be able to provide the parameters of their pool in real time. So that then gives way to app-based technology, where we're able to automate the reordering of chemicals, particularly for customers, so that, you know, instead of having to go in and order, that we're able to have a subscription service that automatically delivers out to the customers chemicals as they require those. But of course, loyalty for us will also be influenced through offers. my key message here is loyalty for us doesn't just center around a single discount club. It's about really having a deep understanding of our customers and the way in which they interact in our brand, and then being able to provide solutions and engagement that really ties in with that. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anthony. I was going to say, I couldn't say it better myself. We talked about this, yeah, the similar consumer segments. Fantastic. I'm going to hand over to Brian to give a bit of a welcome to Adam, and then before we go into our chat.
Thanks very much, Anastasia. And Anthony, thank you very much. What a great presentation. I mean, the customer centricity and the understanding the way that you present. So really acknowledge you for that. I'll now pass to Adam. Adam Posner, who heads up the point of loyalty. I first met Adam through some work we did together, and I was impressed with Adam's take on this topic of loyalty. And when you read into some of the work, and if you come onto Adam's LinkedIn site, you'll see some of the reports that he and the team do. Adam, welcome. Thanks for joining us, and delighted to have you with us.
Terrific to be with you, Brian. And those two presentations are fascinating and amazing to hear, people who live and work in the trenches and what they say about loyalty. So thanks. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here today.
Well, we'll let you please take us through your perspective on the topic of loyalty, and then join us in the panel as we start to round up some of these insights.
Okay, thanks. Great. So I'm going to take a little bit of a more strategic view of loyalty, as well as some tactical and practical insights to help brands, whether on the call or who watch this later. If they think a loyalty program by definition is a solution to a problem, then I'll give some tips around that. But this concept of loyalty, and I've heard Briony talk about love a lot, and even Anthony spoke about love a lot. So there's lots of love in this word loyalty, and yet from my studies, we've got to really think through this concept of what is loyalty in the terms of it's not a program. So I'll share with you some insights from my latest customer loyalty and loyalty program research called For Love or Money. And I'm going to give you 3 takeaways today, which is this, as I said, loyalty is not a program. What is it? Then I love Anthony's comment about his program not being about the discount. And so I'll give you 6 currencies of collection that members care about, and we'll talk about them briefly. And then at the end, from our latest research, where can programs specifically improve in the future if they're going to stay relevant in the lives of their members. So a little bit of background to where this all comes from. This is from my annual For Love or Money research study on the Australian loyalty program landscape and customer loyalty landscape. 16 studies now. Crazy that time goes like this. And it's the 11th Australian edition, and it's an annual independent research, 1,000+ Australian consumers and members of programs, and what they think and feel about where we're going with programs and with loyalty. So yeah, that's just a snapshot. It also covers New Zealand as well, but it's evolved over the years, and it looks at areas like structure, technology, data, privacy, rewards, elements, and a whole range of experiences. In fact, this year, we've launched Australia's first loyalty program experience index, which looks at three interactions with a program and ranks loyalty programs from the consumer's point of view in terms of the overall experience. So loyalty is not a program. What is loyalty? And I just love some of the commentary and feedback from the 2 speakers already in terms of how they look at loyalty, and there's no right or wrong here. It's just more about bringing it all together. And I've asked consumers over these years, what do you think loyalty is to a brand beyond enrolling in a loyalty program? And this is generic. This is not to Adorn and their brand. This is not to Clark Rubber, although you can ask your customers what loyalty means to them and all the other brands. But this is in a generic sense. And we look at 11 dimensions of loyalty, and we've then brought them together into 3 pillars. And there's no surprises here that there's fundamentally three pieces of the puzzle that bring loyalty as a concept to life. There's behavior loyalty, which is, from my definition, all about the money. They spend more often over the longer term when there's competitors. And most people think that loyalty is transactional or behavior, which is fine because we need the cash in the bank. But yeah, loyalty is a transactional connection as well as a belief. And that's where the love is. And that's where the love, the trust, and the recommendation. And Briony talks a lot about her people who love her and love her brand. And that word love comes through in strong, what I call belief loyalty. So that is proven by, I love the brand, I trust the brand, and I recommend and I tell others. And we all know that if we tell others, that's, the greatest form of advocacy. So we've got behavior loyalty, we've got belief loyalty, and then we've got a sense of belonging loyalty. So it's 3 Bs. You can remember the 3 Bs. And belonging is that sense of community and connection and believing in the purpose. And, it's all 3, but some brands might be much heavier in behavior loyalty, working towards belief and wanting a community. Others, like I heard Briony talk about her private Facebook, that seems to be like a heavy belonging loyalty there. And really, which of these 3 does your brand attract from your customers in terms of loyalty? So we ask consumers, thinking of your loyalty to a brand, a generic sense, which of these 3 do you identify with generally? And we got from our research that 58% say loyalty for them is a behavior. It's a transactional connection. So they see loyalty as spending more and purchasing more often over the longer term with the brand. Then, nearly a third said loyalty for them is about the emotional connection to the brand. Bearing in mind, this is generic. If Briony did this to her customers, she might be, her customers might say it's heavy on the belief and heavy on the belonging, and it might change there, but there's still a transactional element there. And so the last is, 15% said they see loyalty as a deeper emotional bond through belonging and identifying with the brand's purpose. You dive a little bit deeper and you look at the genders and the generations, we see some significant differences. So, men are more significantly about transactional connections. And again, just in the context of this slide and this data, this is generic. And when you do your own study with your own brand, with your own customers, you'll see some differences. But this is across the population of Australians. And you'll see some differences in the genders and the generations across the 3 dimensions of loyalty. So why should you care about this is the question you should be asking. Why should I care what loyalty actually means? The reason why you should care, in my opinion, is because now you have the levers to influence loyalty. So if you know what loyalty means to your brand and you know where it's sitting across behavior, belief, and belonging, then what can you do to either maintain that or increase it? So if you want more behavioral loyalty, transactional loyalty, what can you do to drive that? And the Retail Doctor has many strategies to help you, as well as across the others. The point is that a loyalty program may or may not fit across all 3 dimensions. I believe it can drive all 3, but a loyalty program, as I heard a brilliant quote earlier on, is an icing on the cake. All the fundamentals have to be there. And but a program can drive behavioral loyalty, a program can drive belief, and a program can drive belonging. It's just a matter of what it looks like and how you do it. So that's why you should care about what loyalty means to your brand. Okay, so the third thing I wanted to promise, and thanks Anthony for sharing to the community out there, that loyalty programs are not discount programs, although they can be if you so desire. Loyalty programs are not points programs, although they can be if that's what's right for your customer behavior. There's so many dimensions to building a program these days, and they're changing radically. And I've seen so many changes over the years of implementing programs for brands, as well as studying and understanding what customers want from programs. So I'm going to share with you the collection of 6 currencies that members care about. And we've been studying this and asking generically, as well as for clients in their loyalty programs, what do they think their members or customers care about? And the 6 currencies are very straightforward. It almost looks like Maslow's hierarchy, and maybe matches a little, but more about, at the base level, we have a transactional, the money element. Show me the money in your program. And every program, I mean, even if it's an offer or a birthday reward or whatever it is, or points for a purchase, or even if there's a discount or a cashback or whatever it is, there's a financial layer, and customers still want that. Doesn't mean it's got to be the only layer, but it's almost like a ticket to play. Show me the money. The next layers up is where the emotional connections are built. So this is through memory and experiences. I call them moments of magic. How do you add moments of magic to my life? And there's so many different ways of doing that. The fundamental area is it's more than money. It's something that I can actually experience with your brand or your business through the program. Time or functional. Anthony mentioned some great things about seamlessly connecting people through to their requirements and saving their time, adding some utility. How do you save me time and make life easy for me? And that's the time or functional layer of a program. And all of these are a blend. You may be one more than the other, but these are what you should consider. Then we've got me. It's all about me. It's all about my ego, and I call ego and exclusivity, E squared. It's all about the personal layer of show me you know me, make me feel special. So that area is absolutely critical in a recognition and reward program, or by definition, a loyalty program. Then it's my choice. It's a new currency that we're finding more and more growing, which is, don't tell me that I'm going to get a $5 birthday offer. Give me a choice. So happy birthday, Adam. Would you like this or would you like that? And also, not only do you, when you give choice, you also give people more control. And control is a big aspect in the world that we're living in. So choice is a big part of, let me choose my rewards. And us in social is that community and that cause connection. And lots of brands are looking at sustainability and other aspects within their program, and donating points to charities and things like that. And there's some great and very smart programs doing a brilliant work in the community and causes area. So the challenge out there is, can you look at these 6 currencies and blend them to your business, to your customers, as you've both highlighted in your presentation. But the one that I love the most at the moment, and I'm big on, is joyalty. And joyalty is my new word of the moment, which I sleep and breathe every single day. And it's a word I found in a brilliant book called Brand Currency, which I all recommend, about Amazon, but it had nothing to do with loyalty programs. So I borrowed it with reference, and I've redefined it into loyalty programs, because the new loyalty program is a joyalty program. And what is joyalty? Here's the definition. Joyalty is your customer's feeling of maximum joy and delight from one or a series of moments of magic or moms delivered by your brand. Now, I'm not going to go through to the 7 stages of how you build joyalty. You can download a free paper I've written on that, but more about getting you to think about what joyalty is. And 2 quick examples. Joyalty from a chocolate delight is when I arrived at my hotel room and sitting on the bed with the pillow nicely puffed up with a little note and some amazing chocolates. That's what joyalty is, a moment of magic when I wasn't expecting it. Or even joyalty is a tone of voice. And I'm going to read this little brilliant note in a coffee order, which, if you read the tone of voice, it can bring joyalty to your life. So just briefly, I'll read it. It was just another day here at Podco HQ. Not too busy, not too quiet. That was until we overheard the loudspeaker. Attention, everyone. We've just got an order from, we couldn't quite make out the rest of the announcement over the roar of applause, triangle dancing, cheers of joy. We even spotted a few tears being shed. Simply the best. And sorry about the late passing of Tina Turner. Was turned up to 11 and everyone sung along thinking of you. And the whole tone of voice, and it's just a note. It's just a note in the order. Beautiful tone of voice, joyalty to the mind. So there's so many different ways you can bring joyalty to your program and to your customers. And finally, in this last few minutes, I want to share with you, where do loyalty programs need to improve? And so from 2018 through to 2023, we've been asking members of programs, where do you think your programs need to improve? Well, to date, they've improved dramatically. Members think that the earn rate is starting to improve, and in the typical points, earn and burn, that's critical depending on your program. Technology has improved, simplicity has improved. This is all in recent years. Non-financial rewards getting a bit lower, maybe there's more work. Surprise and delight, joyalty, at the number 5, and communications, that's where they've all improved to date. But where can they improve in the future? We asked members of programs. And I'm delighted to say, well, first, earn rate. If it is an earn and burn kind of program, you want to make sure the rewards are achievable. But surprise and delight, they want more of non-financial rewards and communications that are more personalized and relevant. Simplicity seems to be getting better, and technology has improved dramatically. So there's a little guide for those who have programs that want to improve them. So that brings me to the end of the little presentation, Brian. Just a reminder to consider what loyalty actually means to your brand. Is it behavior, belief, or belonging, or all of them? What are the 6 currencies, and add some joyalty to those, and where can you improve?
That was a fantastic presentation, Adam, and really great stuff. And I'm looking forward to exploring some aspects of the great work you're doing in the panel, if I may. Anastasia, before I move into the panel, anything around the polling or anything else that you want to?
Yeah, we do just have one final poll that I would like to launch here. This one talks a little bit about customer centricity. So understanding, the customer focus within the business and how that really is changing. Because I think all 3 of our speakers have really we've talked on the same thing of the importance of understanding your customer in detail, right down to their emotions, personalities, to be able to tailor and build towards that target customer segment. So hopefully everyone can see the poll that is on screen now, looking at the options, and then we move into our panel session. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks very much. So Adam, I might pick up quickly on your lovely example of the chocolates in the hotel room. So I roll in, and there's a beautiful array of chocolates and everything's fantastic. And my loyalty for that hotel is unsurpassed. Then I notice there's no ironing board in the room. I've got to get to a meeting. I'm running out of time, and I get some bland, neutral response on the phone that says, we'll get there when we can. How do we keep all the variables of our business aligned such that my loyalty stays loyal, particularly in that wonderful example? Can we start with that one?
Wow, that's a great insight.
Because we have it happen all the time, and I'm going to move to Anthony with a similar question around.
As Briony said something earlier on, which that element of surprise or whatever it is, you got to be brilliant at the basics. So if the basics aren't quite there, then the chocolates won't really help. So there may be a little bit of forgiveness that comes around, because loyalty is also about forgiving a mistake and allowing you to fix it and apologizing. So one of my 11 dimensions of loyalty is, do you forgive a brand that makes a mistake or doesn't deliver to your expectations? And if you don't forgive, then there wasn't much loyalty. So there is a little bit of leeway or elasticity in that. But your comment there, Brian, will the chocolate solve the ironing board? I don't think so. But it may, if you solve the ironing board and then you walk away and say, yes, they solved the ironing board and I got some chocolates. Well, you've got a double whammy.
Yeah, nice answer. Anthony, in the business of Clark Rubber, how do you bring customer centricity and loyalty of customer into culture, the way we do things around here?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. We've invested in a program called Feedback ASAP. So a little bit about that program. Customers shop with us. We get an email address so that we can identify each of our customers individually, and they actually get a text message from the platform, and that text message has a little bit of a video from me to thank them for their purchase, and then we take them on a 5-question journey where they provide feedback over their experience, and that covers their experience, the knowledge of the service assistant that served them, the reason they came to our brand on a particular day. So, did they interact with us via, did they check us out online? Did they read one of our advertising materials, social media, etc.? So we live and breathe this program, because what it does is it gives us the ability to understand in real time the opportunities in our business. It also drives our NPS, and it gives us the ability to recognise greatness across our our stores and our team members. So, to answer your question, really, how do we embed that in the culture is we celebrate the wins. We don't, in a retail business, you're not going to get it right every time. And I think the ability to be able to get it right, if we haven't got it right, is really, really important. And so, from the top down, we very much embrace the data that comes through this program, and we use it to recognise our great team members across the network. We also use it to understand where we've got an opportunity to get it a little bit better.
Yeah, great answer. There is a question in my mind and Adam touches on, I'm going to ask Brian this question, but Adam touches on something where he says, loyalty is not a program. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Briony, when you think about customer loyalty, the way that I think you think about it is it's really great, passionate, heartfelt leadership. It's understanding your customer at a deep level and just being an effective, great, focused leader versus this thing called a program. And then I'll move to Adam, who'll clarify that for me, but I'm so interested in your view.
Yeah, look, it's really quite simple for me. I mean, obviously, again, we need the reporting and the data, and we, there's all of these things that are really great to obviously step up what you're doing. But to take it to a really basic level, everything I do is about how would I want to be treated? And, it's that whole treat others how you would want to be treated. And, for me, when I'm looking at people coming on board the Adorn team, that is very important to me, that they have the empathy to be able to, treat others the way they need to be treated, even if there's an imbalance of, what the outcome or expectation is. Everybody thinks differently, but at the bottom line, to have enough care that, you appreciate those elements. And, I always hire on attitude. I don't hire for skill set because I think attitude's something you just can't educate people with. So, I think that if you're a very passionate person, whether you're the founder, you're the CEO, and you really genuinely feel the way you do, I think you just bring people on board. And to me, the loyalty and that customer love starts with my team. They are paramount to me. They know that I would go out to bat for them, and because of that, they go out to bat for me and be the best representation of the Adorn brand. And for me, that's something I'm really honoured about. So, I think at the utmost, it's just about treating people the way you'd want to be treated. And, my customer service team, I can't get enough great feedback about them. And one of the things I say to them is, look, yes, we have our policies. Yes, we have our terms and conditions. But essentially, when you're talking to someone, give them the answer that you would want. Give them the outcome in the time frame you would want, and then that's the right answer. Sometimes you might have to throw out, policies and things. It's sometimes it's about giving the right thing at the right time for the right person, and really going on your gut instinct with those things.
Yeah, great answer, Adam. Loyalty is not a program, or it is a program. Sort of, if help define that.
It's not a program.
Okay.
That's what I say loyalty is not a program. A program is a tool or a technique to drive loyal outcomes. If your loyalty is about behavior, do you want more money? Do you want more belief and love? Or do you want a sense of belonging? If you want all three, a program can help drive that. If the program is relevant.
Yeah, so the program in that context is the template or the framework or the scaffolding, essentially, to help you achieve that outcome.
It's the strategic tool, framework. It's the, in Briony on her yacht po, she's got a points program. She's still got a structure. It's what I call a structure, a structure to drive an outcome. Does she want to drive them to spend a bit more? Maybe. Does she want to give them points to join her Facebook community, which is building a sense of belonging? She's incentivizing them through a structure. So a program is a structure of recognition, rewards, and benefits to drive an outcome.
Yeah.
And what I loved about, and it reminded me with your joyalty model, that we're all pleasure-seeking individuals. That's the fundamental psyche of us all. And how does loyalty, I get that it reinforces behavior beautifully. How does it change behavior? Can it change behavior? And Adam, that's the question I'll pose to you.
Yeah, this is an endless debate of what I call, and let's get a little bit scientific here, correlation versus causation. So everybody that I speak to when it comes to a loyalty program say, oh, my members spend more than my non-members. Well, yes, they should, because they joined your program knowing they're going to get benefits because of their current behavior. So anyone that joins a loyalty program by definition should be spending more because of their current behavior. So, you know, it's correlated to their behavior. But the challenge for every loyalty program is, can it cause that incremental spend or that incremental visit? It's that the causation element, and that's the hardest part to prove, the viability of a program, where you're looking at the cost versus the investment. Is your program actually causing the change of behavior, to your point? And yes, it does. In fact, in my study, what they call spontaneous spend, or those people who fly to Sydney to maintain their gold status or spend a little bit more to stay in the higher tier, that's when a program is making a difference. And if you've got 10,000, 100,000 or 1 million members, and a percentage of them are changing their behavior, that's when the income and the profitability happens.
Maybe if I can take that thinking to Anthony briefly, if I think about this gold status flyer that will fly deliberately, consciously change their behavior in order to keep their points up. In the limbic model, Anthony, of course, we would call that, you know, face value, the performer, status, aspiration, and so forth. And when we think about loyalty as a we've got, as you've identified, 2 core groups of limbic personalities. Internally in the organization, does it, I trust it does, mean a very segmented marketing approach to those individual personalities in terms of a loyalty program?
Yeah, look, Brian, for us, no question. You know, we've identified the performer segment as being a real opportunity for us. So, you know, traditionally you're talking about a segment that has maybe a higher socioeconomic position and also, you know, greater spending power. So, you know, we've got certain products that really connect well with those customers. I'll give you an example of that. It could be, you know, fully automated pool systems. So they're wanting something that's latest tech, and our tone of voice and the way in which we connect with those customers are uniquely different to maybe how we're going after a customer that could be somebody that's, for argument's sake, wanting new mattresses for their caravan. So, you know, you're absolutely right, and you'll see that on our new website and the way in which we connect and the way in which we use influencers as well, which is another part of our marketing strategy moving forward, to connect through to those, you know, as I call them, different tribes, different customer bases.
Yeah, great answer. And Anastasia, I'm going to turn to you, but of course, what we're both covering now, we're covering the conscious cues. There's the chocolate on the bed versus the subconscious cues appealing to my psychographics, if you like. Both.
That's it. Sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say that's it. I think how we appeal to those subconscious cues to really target those specific segments. So in the performer, the subconscious cues that they're looking for, that exclusivity, that status, and how we can almost target them on that specific occasion in that specific place, I think is what's really important to build.
One of the interesting things for mine on another level is companies talk about building databases, okay? But Adam, having a big database and having a loyalty program that works can be two very different aspects, can't they?
Okay. So, yeah, I think you're right in terms of loyalty programs have become very popular from a data collection point of view. You know, personally identified data, a value exchange for certain brands and businesses that actually want to connect an individual to their behavior and so on, and then add a layer to build out that data set. So absolutely, there's no hiding it that programs have been a data collection mechanism for more years than we can remember. Versus if you're an e-com pure play business, clearly you've got the data, because if I'm buying something from you, I'm giving you who I am, where I live, and what I've bought. So you've started to get a whole, you know, my recency, frequency, my mountain tree. You've got all of my data. You can analyze me, and you can do all those things, and then you can profile me and do all overlay. You don't necessarily need a program again. It just depends on what you want to drive in terms of, do you want to incentivize me through points and perks, or just be brilliant at your product, your delivery, your fundamentals, and, you know, and just drive those outcomes. So I'm not sure if I answered your question specifically, but data is at the core of programs, absolutely. And in fact, in my study, we've just got to be more sensitive about how we collect it and why we collect it and what we do with it. And there's 6 factors to consider, because data breaches are happening, or have happened. And we've just got to know that that is something we've got to be really very sensitive about.
Yeah, I agree with your answer. Briony, sorry, Anastasia, please jump in.
I was just going to say, I think one of the big trends that we definitely have seen is that rise of privacy being so important to customers, and they're looking for equal exchange when they do give their data now. And I think this is what's really important with understanding the customer, because they're looking for that. Well, if I give you my data, what do I get in exchange? Do I get personalization? Do I get targeted for me, so to cut through all the nonsense? So I think, given the customer's knowledge about privacy now, it becomes so important to have the right offering to actually make them want to give that valuable data.
Absolutely. So Briony, as a prospective Adorner, and I come onto your loyalty program, and as you build analytics and data and all this great stuff, do you ever see a time when you'll start to think in terms of predictive? So you know that Brian's purchase history, you know how he's using your program. I'm going to send him something once a month and give him the opportunity to return it. Do you ever see that day coming? And do you think that fits within this idea of loyalty?
Look, I think,
by the way.
Look, I think so. I mean, I think, you know, there used to be, I mean, and there still is that whole saying of show and show don't tell. But, you know, I feel that we in particular are in a space where it's show and tell, and beauty is obviously an easy one to do in that respect. But, you know, it is also a space where people are not always comfortable with what they're supposed to do. So they do want you to explain why, solve a pain point, of course, but tell them what. And so predictive, I think, would absolutely be something that that I would explore, simply because, you know, looking at the journey of somebody as they're changing ages, maybe changing where they live, wherever it might be, their needs from the Adorn brand are going to change. And so, you know, I think that would absolutely be wonderful if we were able to, you know, predict based on, you know, something or an action that they've made, that we could then maybe lean towards, you know, providing a solution in advance for them. Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Adam, is the ultimate pinnacle of a loyalty program, in this case, or the outcome of it, that I, as the loyal customer, are loud and proud about being a loyalist? In other words, I won't go anywhere else other than Clark Rubber. I love what they do for me, and I'll tell my friends, and I'm an advocate and an acolyte for that brand, and I publicly wear that on my heart. Is that the pinnacle of a loyalty program working well? Adam?
Yeah, I'll come back to the 3 Bs. A loyalty program will work well when you know why you want one. What are your measures of success? There are 9 reasons for a program. I'm not going to go through all 9 now. However, if you look at the success of a program depends on what you set as your base measures of success. So if it's a revenue element and you want to drive that incremental revenue, you want the program to drive that revenue, well then if you achieve that based on your measures, then it's successful. But if you want the program to drive more recommendation, referrals, NPS, drive an NPS outcome, then you've got to set that base measure. And if you're getting that according to whatever your base measure of success is on the belief loyalty, then ultimately that's successful. So success to Briony and versus Anthony might be quite different, subject to their brand, their product, their customer interaction, and their program. So it's not a one for everybody, the same thing. It comes back to how you decide what success looks like, and it can a program, A, drive that outcome, and B, be measured. Back to that incremental versus correlation causation conversation. But certainly, you know, a moment of joy that you give to your members, and then they go onto social and say, oh my goodness, I just got this little gift from Briony and it was a personal note. Well, guess what? They just told 20,000 people. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, nice answer. Anthony, all retailers like to have an economic and commercial return for their endeavors. So that must sit pretty highly in a loyalty program around, does my loyal customer spend more, is more profitable by definition than my non-loyal? Otherwise, part of the motivation for it would seemingly not be there.
Oh, look, without a doubt, there has to be an economic return on that investment, and but it goes beyond, I think, you know, just that economic return. So it also touches on, you know, the point that we raised earlier around, you know, advocacy and having consumers out there that are really championing the brand and referring the brand. And, you know, for us at Clark Rubber, you know, I touched on earlier the data that we feed back from customers on a weekly basis, and really understanding their interaction with their brand, and, you know, their willingness to promote our brand to family and friends. So, you know, many touch points there, Brian, but economic is certainly, so the financial return is definitely one of those, but it goes beyond that.
Thank you, Anthony. Anastasia, we seem to have a question in Q&A that I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's just, I suppose, a bit of a reminder as well at that point for anyone who is listening that would like to ask questions, pop them into our panels. So we all, a question from John coming in here. How often should we communicate with our members? At what point is too much? What is everyone's views on this? Maybe start with Briony.
Oh, look, I think it depends on the communication. I mean, obviously, if you are a brand that's just constantly communicating via your product and a sales drive, you know, of course, you're going to drive people nuts, especially in the current environment. If there's value, of course, I think, and it's value to the right person at the right time, I think that it's almost never enough. I know with the amount of effort I put in personally to the Adorn brand through live tutorials, live conversation, even outside of the Adorn brand. I even do a bath time waffle on a Wednesday. It's called Wednesday Waffle. I am in the bath. I'm naked. It's PG. But you know, it's getting, you know, and when I stop doing it, I get told off. It's like, where is she? You know,
is that your joyalty moment? I love that.
It's not a joyalty moment when my sons come in and go, what are you doing?
Are you really clear on the core audience that's tuning in at that time?
I love it.
Very, yeah, I know exactly who's watching, don't worry. But, you know, I think it's that, yeah, it's delighting, clearly doing the unexpected. But I think when you're communicating subject matter that, you know, is important to that person in a voice they understand, because yes, I'm in an extremely competitive market, but you know, I think it's the way we speak to our customers that makes the difference. We don't talk to them like they're already experts. We talk to them about, you know, how we can assist them. And the products are really just the medium for a conversation around everything else that relates to being, you know, a woman or a man in today's society, and feeling better about it. So I think if it's the right information, and the right person needs to deliver it too. I think, you know, we've all received emails that are just pointless, and then we've received ones that are delivered really well. We've all listened to people on podcasts. The content of what they're delivering is great, but they're as boring as hell to listen to, you know. So, I mean, let's face it. I mean, glaze over. So for me, it's about making sure, you know, you find the right person to deliver those messages as well. It may not be you, it may not be the founder, it may be somebody else that you need to find to deliver that.
Nice.
I think what's really quite interesting there as well is I think you hit the nail on the head. You've got your Wednesday waffle. That's what you, yeah. And
not everyone needs to do that to be interesting. Adam and Anthony, it's all right.
Let's start a trend.
I've got the Saturday shower one, so I'll do you Wednesday waffle, Saturday shower.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's different mediums for different customers because they, like you said, they've got different things they look for. So on a Wednesday, you might attract a very different sort of segment of your database because they want to have that personal, they feel like they know Briony.
They have a wine and
they want to have exactly, and they want to be involved. Whereas you might find that those that are reading the EDMs are actually more of maybe your disciplined customers who actually, they want the data, they want it quick, they want it on their time. They're not prepared to tune in with you. And it's different customers, different times, different locations, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
Anthony, anything to add into that?
Yeah, look, yeah, we're not doing a Wednesday waffle at Clark Rubber, but
well, you've got the pools. You've got
the pools, yeah.
We've got
the spas.
Maybe my next one needs to be in one of your small pools or something.
Yeah,
Oh, no, we'll do that. We'll do a collab. The thing that I'd like to add is it really just depends on the brand, right? And it depends on the customer base. So, you know, think about the Limbic profiling that we shared earlier and the different types of consumers. It depends on that individual and how they want to be communicated to. Also the age. So, you know, Anastasia, you had Gen Z, you know, which is this amazing, hugely emerging segment of the consumer market that are coming at us at a rate of knots. You know, they want to communicate and interact with brands in a really different way to maybe the millennials and the Gen Ys and so forth. Just keep a close eye on your unsubscribe rate. You know, I think that the question that was asked is a question that all retailers and businesses, I guess, grapple with, and that is how much communication is too much communication.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is look at your channels. So, you know, we're actually on TikTok now. So who would have thought our brand on TikTok? But that's about getting to a different consumer that wants to be communicated in a different way. So, you know, it's not just about product and price being pushed through EDMs. I mean, those days for any retailer or business are over in terms of that's very single channel focused and is not really going to maximize your opportunity.
I think you make a good point now, Anthony. If we think about our hedonist consumer that's, you know, easily bored, new products, and then if they're also a Gen Z, so they're used to having several channels, being, you know, 6-8 hours a day on their mobile phone, they want to be communicated with pretty much 24/7 across several different platforms because the hedonist is new, interesting, keep me interested to get bored quickly. So they want new content. Plus they're a Gen Z, so they're native on every single digital platform, spending 6-8 hours, I think it is now, a day on their devices. And that's not including, you know, laptops and work devices. So you combine that and that consumer segment, you know, you've got a full-time marketing person constantly talking to them. So
yes, and I'd like to add to continue what Anthony said about unsubscribe rate, just talking about the email channel. A while ago, I did some work with a brand that was sending out heaps of emails and getting a huge unsubscribe rate. And we stopped and we actually turned the conversation around and said, what's the value of an email? How much is a lost email worth to your business? And so what we did is some analytics around a certain segment of customers and followed their email open rates through to sale and actually calculated for that what the value of the channel, the email, and not the cover, but the channel to actually bring to life that when you get an unsubscribe, you're actually losing revenue, if you want to be brutal. So do you then value your communication, the relevance to Briony's point, and channel fatigue to, you know, to manage the fact that if you lose an email, you're potentially losing a revenue channel.
And I think if I could just sort of add to that too, I think, and it was funny, I just had this conversation yesterday with someone. You know, it's one thing to have your database numbers, but you know, I think how you're getting those database numbers up as well is key to also that unsubscribe rate. So, you know, if you're running competitions and or you're offering some kind of bonus to sign up, but then, you know, really that customer that has maybe jumped on board for those reasons are not really aligned with the actual brand as well. So I think it's about getting very clear on how you're and where you're getting those customers from as well. It's a bit like, you know, saying I've got 100,000 followers on Instagram. Well, you know, that's not hard to do if you're buying them. But then, you know, they're not engaged. And so that's, I think the key is it's not the database size so much. I think it's looking at how rich that database is, because it's quite costly to run one, right? So, you know, in a way, if they're going to unsubscribe because they're not the right person, and you've got a high rate of that, either, yeah, the content you're providing's not relevant, or maybe the way you acquired them in the first place isn't aligning with what actually your brand is. It's not always quantity, it's quality.
I think on that note, we might start to wind up. Anastasia, anything on the poll?
That's just what I was just about to say. If anyone's got any final questions for the panel, otherwise we will start to wrap it up. Just as a reminder, we will send you a link to recording of today's session, and also keep your eyes out. Our next State of the Nation 24 will be late July. We'll be talking about consumer and retailer sentiment, and we're going to welcome some special guests to that event. That will be an in-person event, the next one, so hopefully we will see some people in person, and welcome some of our speakers. So yeah, I don't think we've got any more questions, so back to you, Brian.
Oh, well, it's a note of gratitude and appreciation. Briony, thank you so much. What a great session, just to hear your insights. Adam, you bring that great perspective, the knowledge, this is clearly your field, and thank you very much for your contribution. I'd encourage people to visit Adam on his LinkedIn site. There's some great reports there, and stay in touch, Adam, which we will, because I'm sure we'll continue to help drive loyalty. Anthony, what can I say? As a customer, as a friend, as a leader, your knowledge of the work in this space is a great accolade to you. So thank you. And thank you for your time today as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry I couldn't get the camera to work, but maybe that's a blessing in disguise.
Adorn will sort you out, Brian.
Might have to. Thanks.
Brian's going to be an adorner now. He's already
Absolutely.
said.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Anastasia and Tammy
Thanks,
for marketing. Anastasia for your great contribution as ever. Tammy for putting the wheels to the machine in the background. Thank you. And we look forward to our next State of the Nation, and details to be announced soon. So thanks, everyone. And
Thank you.
look forward to speaking soon.
Thank you.
And to our attendees, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.